I'm a very blessed individual. I survive most things that the average person could never survive. We create our own hells and the depths of our hells.
Homeless people are not all the same. They're not all one category. And I think the most important thing an outreach worker can do, and even the general public, is to look at people compassionately. You don't end up on the street because you've had a great set of experiences. You end up on the street for likely coming from a very traumatic experience.
My name is Daniel Broome. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I was raised as a single child. My family was very overprotective. They figured I was too good to play with other kids, so I lived a very sheltered life. I did get to 11th grade. I never did graduate from high school. Then I started running amok. Spent several little bouts and incarcerated. Started getting mixed up with the cocaine, which made my drug dependence more wild. I was a crackaholic. Well, eventually the combination of the two is not a good thing. Then I wound up becoming homeless. My wife divorced me, so my daughter moved to Georgia. I was really going through hell. Then Breaking Ground happened to come along, and they were like reaching out to me, and I'm like, yeah, all right. Yeah. And I would see them coming, and I'm like, I'm the master of disappearing.
Sometimes outreach workers who are new will say, well, why do we keep, approaching people who clearly don't want our services? Because maybe that 26th time that you approach them, that's the time they're like, okay, I'm ready to go inside, or I'm ready to make a change, whatever that's going to be. And Danny is an example of that. We were persistent. It doesn't happen overnight.
Due to my, negligence and chasing with drugs and whatnot, I wound up in the hospital. I woke up from a coma, from respiratory arrest. Transition begins when you want it.
When I think about him, 10 years ago versus what he looks like now, it's just, I kind of don't have words to put it into play. But it does demonstrate that supportive housing works.
The day before that major snowstorm, they were there. It was a godsend, because believe me, I don't care how strong you are, especially being in my condition, I wouldn't have made it. And they came and they got me. I was right in my little area. Daniel, like, yeah, what? So you ready to go home? Like, what? Just back up, come on, man, we going home. Like, oh my God. And that was the day, the beginning of a new life. Matter of fact, it was the beginning of life.
I think housing was pivotal in his recovery. I think that without housing, he wouldn't have been able to focus on other aspects of his life. I think that for a lot of our tenants, again, just the daily struggle of finding a place to stay that's safe is really overwhelming. And I personally can't imagine dealing with anything other than that if that was my situation. And so once he was able to do that, and once we were able to convince him that this was a place where people cared for him and people had his best interests at heart, I think that was when the real work was able to start.
But this was the first time I was on the inside of my own place, looking out. Didn't have to go. I had lights, I had heat, I had hot water. So during my lease signing, Maria, which is our building manager, she's like, well, Mr. Broome, so now that you signed your lease, when you go upstairs, what is the first thing you're gonna do when you get upstairs? I said, I'm gonna go scuba diving.
Where are you going scuba diving? And he said that in the bathtub that he was planning on filling up the bathtub and going scuba diving for the day. So I knew that he would be good to go, and I knew that we would get along quite well.
Now, since being here, this building has offered me a whole lot. I mean, they have so many self-help groups. It's all good. I'm damaged, all right, but I'm rebuilding myself. Well, at this period of time, I'm signing on to go into the program to become a substance abuse counselor. I want to reach out to people who are in the situation that I once was in. I am so grateful to be where I'm at today. Of course now, don't get me wrong, The majority of it came from the initiative that I took for myself. But initiative doesn't mean anything if you don't have support.